Hello students, good morning all. Myself Professor M.A. Pargi. Today I will start with the module number 1 of MCF subject, that is Introduction to Metal Cutting. Now, what do you mean by metal cutting? See, metal cutting is nothing but it is also known as a machining operation. So machining is the process of producing or removing unwanted material from the surface of the workpiece to make it as a required shape and size. The removed material in the form of chips. Okay, this is nothing but the definition for machining. How you are going to define the machining operation? So machining is the process of removing the unwanted material from the surface of the workpiece to make it as a required shape and size, and the removed material which is always in the form of a chips. Now when you remove the material from the surface of the workpiece according to the dimensions, so finally you get the final product, that is the required product. So this is the definition for machining operation. Now coming to the method of machining. Popularly there are two types of machinings are there. One is known as a orthogonal cutting and second one is known as a oblique cutting. So this is the orthogonal cutting and this is the oblique cutting. Now what do you mean by orthogonal cutting? By seeing the figure one can easily say that orthogonal cutting is nothing but in which the tool is perpendicular to the axis of the workpiece. The tool is perpendicular to the axis of the workpiece and the tool clears the width of the workpiece from both sides. Whenever you are using the orthogonal cutting operation, that is when the tool is making the perpendicular angle to the axis of the workpiece, so this type of cutting is known as a orthogonal cutting, and here the tool clears the width of the workpiece from the both sides, and maximum chip thickness is occurs during the orthogonal cutting operation. Now on other hand, coming to the oblique cutting, so by seeing the figure one can easily say that oblique cutting is nothing but in which the tool makes any angle less than 90 degree or more than 90 degree. So that type of cutting is known as a oblique cutting. In the oblique cutting, the tool makes some angle with respect to the axis of the workpiece. Here the tool is perpendicular to the axis of the workpiece. Here the tool makes some angle to the axis of the workpiece, is known as a oblique cutting. Orthogonal cutting is known as a 2D cutting. Oblique cutting is known as a 3D cutting. Here the tool should not clears the width of the workpiece from the both sides, and the chip thickness is minimum at the, or the chip thickness is not maximum during the metal cutting operation. So these are the two important methods of a machining known as a orthogonal cutting and oblique cutting. Orthogonal is popularly known as a 2D machining and oblique is popularly known as a 3D. So the points should be remembered in this is, here the tool is perpendicular to the axis of the workpiece. Here the tool makes some angle to the axis of the workpiece. Here it clears the width of the workpiece from both sides. Here it should not clears the width of the workpiece from the both sides. Here the maximum chip thickness is going to be occur in the orthogonal cutting. Here maximum chip thickness is not occur during the oblique cutting. Okay, this is the two important methods of a machining known as a orthogonal and oblique. Now coming to the terminology of single point cutting tool. So terminology we are also naming it as a nomenclature of single point cutting tool. Nomenclature in the sense stating the different parts and angles of a cutting tool is known as a nomenclature. Terminology and nomenclature are one another same. So the terminology of a single point cutting tool. So this is the single point cutting tool which is going to be used in the lathe machine. Now just I will first tell you the different parts of this machine. So this is the face. Okay, this area is here written, I have written here, this is the face, and this portion is known as shank, right, and this bottom portion is known as a base, and this is the flank, this is known as a flank, this is end cutting edge angle, and this is the end cutting edge and this is the end cutting edge angle, this is the back rake angle, and this is the side relief angle, this is the side relief angle, then this is the side cutting edge angle, and this is the end relief angle. Now we will discuss one by one. The very first important part of this single point cutting tool is known as a shank. This portion, this rectangular portion is known as a shank. See, shank is that part of a cutting tool which is not grounded to form a cutting edges. Got the idea? The shank is that part of a cutting tool which is not grounded to form a cutting edges. It is a rectangular in cross section which is going to be held in the tool post for the cutting operation. This is known as a shank. Now coming to the face. Face is the rake face of the tool is nothing but it is the upper portion of the tool. This is the upper portion of the tool over which the chip slides. Over which the chips slides. Whenever there is a metal cutting operation, there the tool is coming to contact with the work surface to remove the material. The unwanted material is moving on this face of the tool. Therefore, the wear rate is very high here. Here wear rate is very high because there is a continuous rubbing action between the hot chips and the face of the tool. So this is nothing but the second important part known as a face. Face is the upper portion of a cutting tool over which chip slides. Now next one is the base. It is the bottommost portion of a cutting tool is known as a base, which is going to be rested on a tool post to hold the tool in the tool post. Next one is known as a flank, right? So this is known as a flank. Flank is that portion of a cutting tool which is grounded in a slope which is not come into contact with the work surface. Got the idea? Flank is that portion of a cutting tool which is make a slope which will not come into contact with the workpiece during the metal cutting operation. The flank should have always slope. Otherwise, if you not provide any slope to the flank, so total the flank face is come into contact with the work surface. That leads to higher friction, higher wear, and the machining should not be done in the systematic form. Therefore, always the flank needs the slope, so that only the cutting edge must be come into contact with the work surface during the metal cutting operation. Now there are three edges are there: end cutting edge, then side cutting edge. Okay, so this is nothing but the end cutting edge, and this is the side cutting edge. So end cutting edge and side cutting edge are conjuncted at the point to form a cutting point. End cutting edge and the side cutting edge are conjuncted to form a cutting edge which is come into contact with the work surface during the metal cutting operation. Now end relief angle. So here some slope is provided at the side or end of this tool, as I have shown here. That is, some slope is provided here so that only the cutting edge must be come into contact with the work surface. Suppose if you not provide any end relief angle, so total flank face is come into contact with the work surface. Therefore, some slope on the flank and some slope on this end is necessary to have the sharp cutting edge. Side cutting edge angle. So another angle is provided at the end side of the workpiece which will give the sharpness to the tool. Otherwise, when you are converting from rectangular this bar to this cutting edges, you have to make some slope here, and this angle is known as a side cutting edge angle. Now another one is the back rake angle. The back rake angle is made on the rake face of the tool. This back rake angle is made on the rake face of the tool. So this back rake angle is useful to create the cutting edge here, the cutting edge or the nose radius. This is nothing but the nose radius. So in this way, the systematic naming of all the parts and different angles of a cutting tool is nothing but the terminology or the this what we are calling it as a nomenclature of a single point cutting tool. Okay. Now coming to the basic elements of a machining. Now the basic elements of a machining are: one is the tool. This is the workpiece. Tool is penetrating into the work surface to remove the unwanted material, and this unwanted material in the form of a chip. And here some slot or some gap is provided so that the cutting fluid is going to be poured during the metal cutting operation. Okay, the elements of a machining are the tool, the workpiece, the chip, the cutting fluid. This is the shear plane where the shearing is going to be done. So during the metal cutting operation, the tool is penetrated to the work surface. Due to the sharpness of a tool, unwanted material is removed from the workpiece in the form of a chip. Now chip slides on the rake face of a tool, and in between this the gap is provided so that the cutting fluid is going to be inserted to reduce the friction and heat generation. Now coming to the next bit is known as a chip formation. See, in any metal machining operation, the material is removed from the workpiece in the form of chips. In any metal cutting operation, the material is removed in the form of a chips. Now this process is known as a chip formation. This process, removing the amount of material from the workpiece in the form of chip, is known as a chip formation. The chip formation in the process of metal cutting is very complicated, and which involves the 4 different aspects. So that 4 different aspects are: one is a plastic deformation, second one is the heat generation, third one is the work hardening, and fourth one is the tool wear. Now see here in the chip formation, when the tool is penetrated into the work surface, 4 aspects are going to be happen. The very first one is known as a plastic deformation. Now what is the plastic deformation? See, when the force exerted by the cutting tool on the material, exceeds the critical strength of a material, so the material get deformed, and this stage is known as a plastic deformation. When the metal to metal contact is there, heat is going to be generated. That is the second aspect, is known as a heat generation. When the tool is penetrated into the work surface and remove the material, the work hardening is going to be takes place. And finally, after doing the machining operation, tool loses its cutting capacity. That is nothing but the tool wear. So the chip formation is a very complicated process which involves the 4 important aspects: plastic deformation, heat generation, work hardening, and tool wear. So this is nothing but the mechanism of a chip formation. Now depending upon the tool geometry, cutting conditions, and work material, the chips are divided into 3 types: continuous chips with a built-up edge, discontinuous chips. The question may be asked, many times this question is going to be asked, I explain the different types of chips formed in a orthogonal cutting. So there are 3 important types of chips are going to be formed in orthogonal cutting. One is known as a continuous chip, second one is known as a continuous with a built-up edge, third one is known as a discontinuous chip. Now with this sketch I will explain the different 3 types of chips here. See, the very first one is known as a continuous chip. See, continuous chips are these type of chips are formed during the machining of ductile material like a mild steel. Continuous chip, these type of chips are going to be formed during the machining of a ductile material like a mild steel. The high cutting speed and large rake angle is responsible for production of these type of chips. The high cutting speed and the large rake angle is responsible for production of these type of chips. Now these type of chips are in the form of a long coil. These type of chips are in the form of a long coil having the same thickness throughout its length. What the idea? What do you mean by the continuous chip? Continuous chip is nothing but this type of chips are formed during the machining of a ductile material like a mild steel. The high cutting speed and large rake angle is responsible for production of these type of chips. These type of chips are in the form of a long coil with the same thickness throughout its length. This is known as a continuous chip. Now coming to the second one here, discontinuous chip. See, discontinuous chips are nothing but these chips are small segments which adhere to each other to form a long coil. By seeing the figure you can see here, these chips are in a small segment adhere to each other loosely to form a long coil. So these type of chips are usually formed during the machining of hard and brittle material like a brass or bronze or a cast iron. Got the idea? And large, low rake angle and small cutting speed is responsible for production of these type of chips. Got the idea? What is the discontinuous chip? Discontinuous chips are consisting of the small segments. These small segments are adhered to each other loosely to form a long coil. The low cutting speed and small rake angle is responsible for production of these type of chips, and these type of chips are going to be formed during the machining of a very hard and brittle material like a brass, bronze or a cast iron. Got the idea? This is nothing but the discontinuous chip. Now coming to the third type is known as a continuous chip with a built-up edge. See, continuous chip with a built-up edge is nothing but these chips are similar to that of a continuous chip. These chips are similar to that of a continuous chip, but these are not as smooth as a continuous chip. These are not as smooth as a continuous chip. A small amount of material is going to be adhered to the nose of a tool, and a small amount of material is going to be adhered to the workpiece during the metal cutting operation. So when these type of chips are going to be obtained by machining a ductile material with the high speed tools at a ordinary cutting speed. Means when you use the HSS tool at a very low cutting speed, a small amount of material is going to be adhered from the workpiece to the face of a tool, and small amount of material is going to be adhered to the on a chip, and that type of chips are known as a continuous chip with the built-up edge. BUE means built-up edge. So this is nothing but the built-up edge. From in the chip, a small amount of material is going to be adhered. This is known as a built-up edge. So there are three different types of chips are there: continuous, discontinuous, and continuous with the built-up edge. Hope you are getting these important points. Now coming to the next one, the determination of shear plane angle or expression for shear plane in orthogonal cutting. The question may be asked in any one fashion. They may ask determination of a shear plane angle, or derive an equation for a shear plane angle, or expression for the shear angle in orthogonal cutting. Okay, so this is the diagram for derivation purpose. Simple. It is the tool which is penetrating into the work surface, and this is the chip which is coming out of the material as an unwanted material, and this is the work surface. Now I have written here A, B, C, D. Okay, I have named it as A, B, C, D. This is T1, that is uncut chip thickness T1, and this is T2 chip thickness T2, and here this phi, this is the phi angle, and this is the 90 degree, and I need this angle. So this angle is nothing but 90 minus phi plus gamma. So this is the gamma. So this angle I need. So this angle is nothing but 90 minus phi plus gamma. Okay. Now we'll start with the very first thing. Here you should concentrate on two triangles. One is ABC and one is ABD. Very simple derivation. Only trigonometric formulae are going to be used to derive the shear plane angle. Okay, we'll start with the first one. Now consider the triangle ABC. Consider the triangle ABC. From this triangle with the phi, apply sine rule. Apply sine theta or sine phi or sine rule to this triangle. So sine phi is equal to opposite by adjacent. Opposite is BC. BC is nothing but T1, and this is nothing but AB. So T1 by AB. So sine phi is equal to T1 by AB. Sine phi is equal to opposite by hypotenuse. So I need AB, therefore AB is equal to T1 by sine phi. Rearranging the term, AB is equal to T1 by sine phi. Now this is the nothing but the number 1, equation number 1. Now similarly consider the triangle ABD. Consider the triangle ABD with this angle, this is the 90 minus phi plus gamma. 90 minus phi plus gamma. So here also apply the sine rule to this triangle, opposite by hypotenuse. Opposite is BD, BD by AB, BD divided by AB. So BD is nothing but T2 chip thickness. So T2 divided by AB. Therefore AB is equal to T2 divided by sine 90 minus 5 plus gamma, rearranging the term. Now I can rewrite as T2 as usual, sine 90 minus gamma minus 5 plus gamma, we can rewrite as a sine 90 minus 5 minus gamma. If I remove this bracket, automatically I will get this. Now therefore AB is equal to sine 90 minus theta is nothing but cos theta. So sine 90 minus theta, let us consider this is the theta, sine 90 minus theta is nothing but cos theta. So finally we are getting another one, AB is equal to T2 divided by cos phi minus gamma. Let us consider this is the equation number 2. So we have equation number 1 here, AB is equal to T1 by sine phi, and equation number 2, AB is equal to T2 divided by cos phi minus gamma. So equating equation 1 and 2, T1 by sine phi is equal to T2 divided by cos phi minus gamma. Now rearranging the terms, T1 by T2 is equal to sine phi divided by cos phi minus gamma. So this is nothing but the chip thickness ratio. T1 by T2 is nothing but the chip thickness ratio, which is denoted by letter R. Now rearranging the term, T2 by T1 is equal to 1 divided by R is equal to cos phi minus gamma divided by sine phi. So cos A minus B, cos A cos B, sine A sine B. So expanding this, cos A cos B, sine A sine B. Cos A minus gamma A minus B is equal to cos A cos B plus sine A sine B. So 1 divided by R as usual. So cos by sine is nothing but the cot. Cos by this cos gamma as usual here. Sine phi by sine phi get cancelled, and sine phi divided by, so this sine phi get cancels, sine phi remaining. Here cos phi get cancels, so cos by sine is nothing but cot. So we are getting here, now taking this R to the RHS, taking this R to the RHS, so 1 is equal to R cot phi cos gamma plus R sine gamma. So I am taking this R to the RHS, so that this R should be multiplied by this also and this also. So now I am taking this R sine gamma to the LHS. So 1 minus R sine gamma is equal to R cot phi into cos gamma. I am taking this R sine gamma to the LHS. Now I am taking this cot to the LHS and this term to the RHS. So 1 by cot, if I take this cot this way LHS, it will become 1 by cot. So 1 by cot is nothing but the tan. Therefore tan is equal to R cot phi as usual, that is R cos gamma. R cos gamma is as usual, and I am taking this one to the denominator, that is 1 minus R sine gamma. This is the expression for shear plane angle, or this is the determination of shear plane angle, that is tan phi is equal to R cos gamma divided by 1 minus R sine gamma. So this is a very simple derivation. Only the trigonometric formula, that is the sine rule, is going to be applied to the two triangles ABC and ABD, and you are going to be equate and you have to solve it. So finally we are getting tan phi is equal to R cos gamma divided by 1 minus R sine gamma. This is the expression for shear plane angle. Got the idea? Once you go through it, see either the shear plane angle or the merchant circle, any one derivation is compulsory for your examination. Okay, go and practice it. Now coming to the very next derivation is known as a merchant circle analysis. See, merchant circle analysis is nothing but, here the scientist known as a merchant, he emphasized that whenever the tool is penetrating to the work surface, let us consider this is the tool and this is the work surface. Whenever the tool is penetrating to the work surface, enormous amount of forces are going to be generated. So these forces are systematically arranged in a circle. That's why it is known as a merchant circle analysis. Got the idea? So the forces may be normal force, friction force, thrust force, shear force, then resultant force. So when the tool is penetrated to the work surface, these all forces are going to be generated. Now the scientist, what he made all these forces in a circle. He represented all the forces which are developed during the metal cutting operation into a circle, and this is popularly known as a merchant circle analysis. Now for this merchant circle analysis, you have to draw this diagram. Just I'll go through the diagram here. So this is, I have written A, this is B, this is C, D, then it is E, Q, R, okay, then this is beta, this is phi, this is gamma, this is gamma, this is gamma, this is beta minus gamma, okay, then this is resultant R. Drop a perpendicular, name it as a P, and draw another one triangle here, name it as a E, right? Now we'll go through the solution here. So to solve this, first of all, we have to take the coefficient of friction. The coefficient of friction is known as a mu. Mu is the coefficient of friction, is equals to tan beta equals to F divided by N. F is the frictional force, N is the normal force. See here, AC, it is the F, and DC, it is the N. So this is the frictional force, this is the normal force. Now we will derive for this frictional force and normal force. So first one, F. How I can rewrite is this F? F I can rewrite as a AB plus BC. So this is the frictional force. I can rewrite as a AB plus BC, and this here AC is equal to AC. F means AC. AC is equal to AB plus BC. Now this AB plus BC. So BC can be substituted by DE here, because the length and angle of BC and DE are same, so that you can substitute this DE by with the this BC. So here I have written AC is equal to AB plus BC. AB as usual, instead of BC I have written DE, this one DE, because both are same angle and same length. Now I will tell one first one, then you go through the other all relations. So in the AB, let us consider this is AB. For to find this AB, consider the triangle ABF. Consider the triangle ABF. From this ABF, consider the triangle this gamma, and for this gamma, build up the relation between the side AB and the FT. AB and the FT. Okay. So therefore, I can rewrite as a FC sin gamma plus FT cos gamma. FT sin gamma from this triangle and FT cos gamma from this triangle. That is DEF. DEF from this triangle. If I suppose to find the value of DE, so okay, with the which trigonometric formula is going to be relate between the adjacent and hypotenuse, that is nothing but the cos theta. Therefore I can rewrite as a FT cos theta. Therefore frictional force F is equal to FC sin gamma plus FT cos gamma. Similarly, you go for the normal force, that is N. N is equal to, see here, this is the N. N is equal to, you can rewrite as a N as a FB. See here, FB minus FE. FB minus FE. Here, see here, FB minus FE. So that I can have a this BE. BE is nothing but it is similar to that of a DC. So the DC can be replaced by this here, it is BE. Now same, apply the sine rule to the triangle, you are getting FC cos gamma minus FT sin gamma. Therefore coefficient of friction mu is equal to tan beta is equal to F divided by N. F is FC sin gamma plus FT cos gamma, and N is FC cos gamma minus FT sin gamma. Now dividing both numerator and denominator by cos gamma. Okay, so if I divide this numerator and denominator by cos gamma, so remaining is FT plus FC tan gamma, FC minus FT tan gamma. ft plus fc tan gamma, then here fc minus ft tan gamma. Now coming to fs, here see it is the fs shear force. So how you are going to be determine the shear force fs? Fs is nothing but the ar. I can rewrite this ar as a aq minus qr. I can rewrite as a aq minus qr. So aq as usual, qr can be replaced by fp. qr can be replaced by fp. Apply the same trigonometric formula. For aq you are getting fc cos phi, and for fp you are getting ft sin phi. Similarly for fn, normal force. So normal force af, dr, normal force is dr. So normal force dr is equal to dp plus qr. Here it is a dp plus qr. dp, here it is a qr. dp plus qr. So dp as usual, qr can be pr. Pr can be rewritten as, here it is a pr can be written as a de. So ft cos phi plus fc sin phi. ft cos phi plus fc sin phi. This is the formula for normal force Fn. So what we did here, coefficient of friction mu is equal to frictional force divided by normal force. We have provided all the relations. Finally we are getting fc cos phi minus ft sin phi. Then we got to go to the shear force, and we go to the normal force. Now finally coming to the this triangle ADR in the angle DAR. So we are getting fs is equal to r cos phi plus beta minus gamma. Similarly cutting force, this is the shear force, this is the fc is the cutting force, is given by r cos phi minus gamma, and thrust force ft is given by r sin beta minus gamma. Now taking the equation of ft divided by fc, thrust force divided by cutting force is equals to tan beta minus gamma. Now solving the above equation with the new theory, we are getting 2 phi plus beta minus gamma is equal to constant. This is the equation to for the merchant circle analysis. Okay, 2 phi plus beta minus gamma is equal to constant. So how we are getting this? With the new theory, with the simplifying this above equation with the help of a new theory, we are getting 2 phi plus beta minus gamma is equal to constant. Okay, this is about the merchant circle analysis. Hope you are fine with the, both derivations, shear plane angle and merchant circle analysis. Once you go through it, if you doesn't understand, please feel free to contact. Okay, thank you.